The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark didn't start in the arenas or under the bright lights of national broadcasts. It started on neighborhood courts, in gyms where the squeak of sneakers and the rhythmic thump of the basketball against hardwood told stories no one else could hear. Most men didn't watch women's basketball, not seriously, not with the same intensity as the NBA. But that all changed the moment Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court. Suddenly, the impossible became undeniable. Suddenly, women's basketball wasn't just a game, it was a spectacle, a phenomenon, and at its center stood one girl who could do it all: score, pass, rebound, and command attention like no one before her. She is, without hyperbole, the greatest scorer college basketball has ever seen. And yet, to understand how she reached this apex, you have to trace her journey from a child playing with boys in local gyms to a superstar who fills sold-out arenas with tens of thousands of screaming fans. Picture it, a crowd of 18,000, every eye fixed on her, every heart beating in rhythm with her every move, the air thick with anticipation, everyone waiting to see if she could live up to the hype, waiting to witness greatness in motion. And there she was, Caitlin Clark, poised with the ball in her hands, ready to make history with a single shot, to prove she wasn't just talented, but unstoppable. Yet, for all the applause, the accolades, and the record-breaking feats, Clark's story is also one of struggle, of setbacks, and of moments that could have broken a lesser athlete. Behind the flash of national championships and highlight reels, there were tears, doubts, and a relentless hunger to prove herself, not to anyone else, but to herself. This is the story of how Caitlin Clark changed women's sports forever. From the very beginning, she faced skepticism. There were the guys in high school gyms who laughed, mocked, and said she wouldn't make it. They couldn't see what she saw in herself, a cold-blooded killer with an unshakable work ethic and a mind wired for the game. And she didn't just silence the doubters with words, she did it with points. 42 in a single game, breaking down the competition and cementing her status as something extraordinary. Every basket was a statement, every drive to the hoop a declaration. She was here, she was dominant, and she was rewriting the rules of women's basketball. Clark's story begins long before collegiate arenas and national television. Her father was her first coach, her first guide, and the person who instilled in her the belief that she could be more than anyone expected. Before every game, she recalls, I look at my dad and I give him a nod. He gives me a nod. It was a simple gesture, but it carried the weight of encouragement, mentorship, and love, the kind of foundation that can launch a young athlete toward greatness. Even as a child, she dominated. Averaging 27 points per game in youth leagues, she showed flashes of brilliance that hinted at the future superstar she would become. She played every sport imaginable: track, softball, soccer, but basketball captured her heart. It was the competition she craved, the thrill of the challenge, the relentless pursuit of perfection. By the time she joined Team USA, Clark was already a force on the international stage, claiming 3 gold medals and proving that her talent wasn't just local, it was global. And yet, even in triumph, life had lessons to teach her. During her high school career, she faced a setback that could have derailed any other athlete, a pinky injury that cost her a spot on the varsity team. She played through the pain, but her performance suffered. Honestly, she said, that's one of the lowest points of my basketball career. You win a gold medal one year, and the next, you don't make the team. But where some might have seen failure, Clark found motivation. That low point became a catalyst, fueling a fire that would burn brighter than ever as she moved into college basketball. When she arrived on the collegiate stage, it was clear from the very first game that she was destined for history. Scoring 27 points in her debut, Caitlin Clark immediately signaled that she wasn't just another freshman, she was a future superstar. The numbers she produced that season were staggering: 27 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds per game. It was a stat line that seemed almost unreal, a blueprint for a career that would continue to ascend in ways few could imagine. Each subsequent year, she pushed the envelope further, averaging 27 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds. She didn't just play the game, she redefined it. Fans, critics, and even her fellow players began to understand that Clark was no ordinary talent. She was a phenomenon, an unstoppable force, and every game became a testament to her extraordinary ability. Then came the records. First, she became the all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball, a milestone that once seemed untouchable. But she didn't stop there. She shattered a record that had stood for 50 years, surpassing men's and women's achievements alike. Passing legends like Pistol Pete Maravich, Clark didn't just break records, she demolished them, leaving a trail of awe and disbelief in her wake. The statistics alone tell a story of dominance, but the true measure of her greatness lies in her composure. On the court, Clark never seemed nervous. The pressure of packed arenas, the expectations of fans, the weight of history, none of it shook her. Each dribble, each shot, each decision was executed with precision, poise, and an almost preternatural understanding of the game. Yet, the story of Caitlin Clark is about more than points, records, and accolades. It's about transformation. She changed the way people watch women's basketball. She made arenas swell with fans who previously wouldn't have stepped foot in a women's game. Networks that struggled to sell airtime found themselves inundated with viewers. Young girls who once thought elite basketball was unattainable now had a role model who demonstrated that it was not only possible, but exhilarating to play at the highest level. Caitlin didn't just participate in women's sports, she elevated them, making them compelling, dramatic, and impossible to ignore. Her journey is a blueprint for perseverance. The setbacks in high school, the doubts of critics, the injuries, all became stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Clark's career illustrates a profound truth: talent alone is never enough. What separates the extraordinary from the merely gifted is resilience, discipline, and an unyielding desire to prove oneself in the face of adversity. She became a cold-blooded competitor not by accident, but by experience, by trial, and by confronting challenges head-on. Every game she played was a declaration of self-belief, every point a testament to the hours of practice, the relentless drills, and the countless nights spent refining her craft. But even with all her accolades, Clark's story retains a deeply human element. There were moments of doubt, moments when the applause faded and the reality of competition set in. The tears that followed intense games weren't signs of weakness, they were evidence of someone who cared, someone who understood the stakes, and someone whose passion transcended mere sport. In those moments, fans saw not just a player, but a young woman who had poured her soul into her craft, who had risked everything to redefine what was possible, and who had succeeded beyond imagination. Caitlin Clark's impact extends far beyond the court. She has become a symbol of possibility for women athletes everywhere, a proof that dedication, talent, and courage can shatter preconceptions and create new paradigms. She has proven that women's sports are not just competitive, but captivating, and that audiences will flock to witness excellence when it is presented without compromise. Her story is a reminder that greatness is often forged in adversity, nurtured through mentorship, and realized through a relentless pursuit of one's own potential. Today, her name resonates not just in the record books, but in the consciousness of sports fans worldwide. Clark's journey from a child competing in local leagues to a global sensation is a testament to what happens when talent meets tenacity. She has inspired a generation of young athletes, shifted cultural perceptions, and forever altered the landscape of women's basketball. Every court she steps on, every shot she takes, carries with it the weight of history, the thrill of possibility, and the reminder that true greatness cannot be contained. And as fans, we are left to witness something rare and magnificent, the unfolding of a legend in real time. Caitlin Clark didn't just score points, she scored a place in history, a place in the hearts of millions, and a place in the ongoing narrative of women's sports. She reminds us that excellence is not given, it is earned, pursued, and ultimately celebrated. From the highs of international gold medals to the lows of high school setbacks, her story is a symphony of triumph and perseverance, a testament to the transformative power of sport, and a shining example of what can happen when a young woman refuses to be limited by expectation. Now, we watch and wait for the next chapter. Will she lead her team to a national championship? Will she continue to break records and redefine what's possible? The story of Caitlin Clark is still being written, and every fan who witnesses it becomes part of that narrative. So ask yourself, how far could passion and perseverance take you? Could you rise above doubt and make history? If Caitlin Clark can change the game, inspire a generation, and leave a permanent mark on sports, imagine what you could do. If you've been captivated by her journey, consider supporting this story by liking and subscribing. Share your thoughts. Which moment in Clark's career do you think defined her? And how do you think she's reshaping women's sports for the next generation? Your insight might just inspire the next Caitlin Clark to take the court and change the world. To be honest, Caitlin Clark never really gets nervous. "I just know this is fun for me," she says, a deceptively simple statement that masks the steel beneath her smile. But the question everyone was asking as the national championship approached was far bigger. Could she maintain that calm when all of America was watching? Could she prove on the grandest stage of them all that nerves had no claim over her? Sunday arrived, and with it, a record-breaking audience. This wasn't just the most watched NCAA women's basketball game in history, it was the most viewed college sporting event of any kind. Millions tuned in, screens flickering with anticipation, as fans braced themselves for a showdown that would define a generation of women's basketball. The stage was set, the lights blinding, the pressure monumental. And yet, there she was, Caitlin Clark, ready to take her place in history. Only 4 minutes into the game, and the question of nerves had already been answered. Clark made her first three-pointer with the kind of effortless precision that had become her signature. 2 minutes later, another shot swished through the net. After just 6 minutes, she had scored again, moving with a fluidity that seemed almost fictional, a rhythm that left defenders grasping at air. Sonato passed to her, and she nailed it. Moments later, she repeated the feat, each basket and assertion of her dominance. By the end of the first quarter, it was clear. Clark was unstoppable, a phenomenon in real time. But just as the narrative seemed to tilt in Iowa's favor, LSU emerged as a different kind of adversary. Reese spun, drove, and finished with a ferocity that reminded everyone that the championship would not be won on reputation alone. Carson banked in a shot that left commentators scrambling for adjectives: wizardry, sorcery, pure genius. By halftime, LSU had amassed a 17-point lead, and the Iowa locker room was filled with tension, questions, and quiet determination. Was this just LSU's day, or could Clark find a way to rewrite the script yet again? LSU's coach didn't mince words. "You've got to play like we did in the fourth quarter the other day, like we're behind, okay? But you fight." His words, meant to motivate his team, could just as easily have applied to Clark, who never wavered. She remained poised, refusing to let the scoreboard dictate her mindset. With every dribble she carved through defenders, with every shot she reaffirmed her status as the greatest scorer college basketball had ever seen. And then, in the heart of the title game, she reached a personal milestone, a record-breaking 73 points in a single title game, a feat unmatched in the history of NCAA championships. But sports, in all its drama, is never fair. In the final quarter, the magic faltered. Shots that normally seemed destined to fall clanged off rims. Rebounds slipped through her fingers. Even her passes, typically precise and intuitive, faltered under the pressure. Turnovers piled up, and with just 57 seconds left, Iowa trailed by 17 points. The championship, the glory, and the history seemed to slip out of reach. Then came Angel Ree. In a play that sparked outrage on social media, Ree made a decision that left the internet ablaze, fans divided between anger and awe. But in the arena, in that moment, it worked. LSU orchestrated a comeback that would be remembered as one of the greatest in sports history. In a stunning twist, the Tigers captured their very first national championship. And for all her brilliance, Caitlin Clark had to face the bitter taste of defeat on the stage she had so often dominated. Sitting in the locker room afterward, the weight of the moment began to sink in. Caitlin, the young girl who had once dreamed of playing under bright lights, who had faced critics, doubters, and even physical setbacks, now understood the duality of sports: triumph and heartbreak, glory and disappointment, sometimes existing in the same breath. "It's going to set in for me for quite some time," she said, reflecting on the journey from child prodigy to national sensation. "I was just that young girl, so all you have to do is dream that you can be in moments like this." And yet, Clark's story is also a stark reminder of a larger truth in women's sports. Despite her extraordinary achievements, societal perceptions linger. Too often, women's sports struggle to capture the attention, respect, and viewership they deserve. Questions echo in empty arenas, in social media debates, and in the corridors of sporting history. Why do so few women watch women's sports? Why is the WNBA, with its incredible talent, still overlooked by the very audience it represents? And how many young girls still doubt that they too can achieve greatness in arenas filled with history? Clark's presence, her talent, her relentless drive challenges these perceptions. She is living proof that when women's sports are given the spotlight, the audience will come. When skill, determination, and passion collide on the court, the spectacle is undeniable. And as the championship unfolded, it became clear that Clark's legacy would not be defined solely by victories, but by the impact she had on the sport itself. Even in defeat, she inspired. From every record-breaking shot to every moment of composure under pressure, she modeled resilience, excellence, and dedication. Her story transcends the scoreboard, becoming a testament to what is possible when a young woman refuses to be limited by expectation. Fans, commentators, and aspiring athletes alike were reminded that the heart of competition is not just in winning, but in daring to step onto the stage at all. In the aftermath, voices of reason and admiration arose. Jasmine Carson, one of the standout players of the day, reflected on the competition and the chaos of social media outrage. "I'm just one that competes," she said. She competed. In that statement lies the essence of what Caitlin Clark represents: a fierce competitor who elevates everyone around her simply by being present. Each play, each shot, each decision was a reminder that greatness is forged not just in talent, but in courage, persistence, and unwavering belief. As the final seconds ticked away, the crowd held its collective breath. Caitlin had poured everything into the game, had defied expectation, and had played with the soul of someone who truly loved the sport. When the buzzer sounded, she had come up just short, yet her influence on the game was undeniable. She was and will forever be one